We are also tracking the storms that are happening right now. Rodney Price is looking at conditions in our mobile weather lab. But first, here's Chief Meteorologist Ross Janssen with the very latest.
All right, Mike and Rachel, let's kind of set things up from a south central Kansas region-wide view. You can see we've got storms going through Butler County. The situation in Sedgwick County is calming down for now. That's going to change here later this evening. We've got a big thunderstorm, but it is weakening some as it approaches Wellington. And then we get into storms in southern Kingman County and northern Harper County. The storms, by the way, in Reno County look like heavy rainfall, maybe some pea-sized hail. So let's start with where we have the storms up here in Butler County, because the active weather that's moving through El Dorado and areas to the south of El Dorado still looks like we're capable of winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour. Leon's going to be in line for that. El Dorado, the rain's picking up there. You could get some hailstones up to quarter size as the storms approach from the south and west, but you'll be able to see here this thing is kind of wrapping up right now north of Augusta. We've had winds of about 60 and some golf ball size hail near Augusta. That storm is making its way on to the north and east, so areas northwest of Leon and certainly from El Dorado south. That's where the core of that storm remains at the present time, and it's both a hail and wind threat, and that's exactly the combination that we're dealing with down here in Sumner County. Around Derby, it's heavy rainfall, but we're not picking up on any large hail there. The storm, as it moves in on Wellington, we're thinking now hailstones are probably closer to golf ball size, but there's still a chance that we could get some high winds, maybe on the order of 70 to 80 miles an hour as that storm approaches the Wellington area. So we want you to be sheltered away from windows, because that high wind that may be working its way down 160 coming in on Wellington could easily be above 70 miles an hour, and there's still a significant concern for some larger hail that may be taking place in Sumner County. As far as what the hail size could be, this has dropped from baseballs that we were looking at about 15 or 20 minutes ago, but easily golf balls to maybe 2-inch diameter hail could be a threat there, and that storm now moving in on Wellington. So time is kind of running out for you to shelter from that storm as it approaches from the west. Meanwhile, back here to the west of Wichita, we get into some thunderstorms out here in parts of Kingman County and northern Harper County. Closer in, you can see it's mostly south of Kingman, probably will stay that way from Zenda, and areas north of Harper, north of Anthony. That storm continues to move to the northeast. If that storm doesn't weaken, you can follow the trajectory. It's going to be in Sedgwick County, perhaps in the next 45 minutes. Heavy rainfall and some hail going to be threatening with that storm. We haven't had anything confirmed so far, but we'll see if that changes, and it's heavy rainfall and some brief winds, maybe a 40 to 50 possible on some storms up here near the Arlington area. Not to be left out, because things are changing quickly now up here along I-70 and areas just south of Salina. Look at the new storms taking off from south of Salina back into southern Ellsworth County, and those storms do continue to drift on to the east at around 25 to 30 miles an hour. We do have Rodney Price out in Mobile Weather Lab. Thought we would take a chance to maybe check in with him. He's been watching the storm down in Sumner County, and this thing has been a pretty significant storm for the fact that it did for a little while produce a tornado. But we have Rodney back on the line, and Rodney, go ahead and give us an update here on what you're seeing.
Okay, Ross, we are coming up on the Kansas Turnpike here, and US 166. We're just to the east and northeast of South Haven, and we're making our way eastward on US 166, and looking to the north and northwest. You can see the front edge of this storm here is certainly wicked looking. Some cloud to ground lightning out of it. We're getting some very gusty winds that are feeding into this storm. But right now, I don't see any big features at all that alarm me, other than just having, of course, some very strong winds in there. Very dark skies behind it, so likely that we still continue to have some possibility of some large hail reports there. But right now, again, we're coming up on the Kansas Turnpike here, and just about 3/4 of a mile to the west of the Turnpike, and watching that storm that continues to bring some hail and wind threat to Sumner County. Ross?
All right, thanks very much. Again, that's Rodney Price.
This is a Storm Team 12 weather alert.
And welcome in on a Tuesday evening. Right now, Sedgwick County and the city of Wichita is starting to dry out, but that's probably going to be short-lived because we have more storms coming at us from the west. We do still have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Butler County, and as we told you before the break, the largest hail remains south and east of El Dorado, but we want you to be prepared from Roselia, areas just north of Leon, because the storm right there on Blue Stem Road still capable of hail up to the size of maybe a poker chip or a golf ball, but probably not much larger than that. And there is a chance we could get some wind up around 60 miles an hour as that storm continues on to the northeast. The storm at the moment is still very much this one right over Sumner County, where hailstones could be up around 2 inches in diameter. And this is right over Wellington, and it's slow to move. So not just hail and wind threats, but tremendous rainfall. Obviously, terrible timing with the wheat harvest just very much in its infancy, and now we're dealing with a damaging storm that's passing through Sumner County. Severe thunderstorm warnings are out for central and northern Sumner County around Belle Plaine and soon to be western sections of Cowley County. I want to go in a little bit closer here because this appears to be our strongest storm at the moment. And when we continue to talk about how large the hailstones might be with this particular storm, it's down from where we were about 15 or 20 minutes ago, but we're still close to golf balls on the estimated hail size there just to the east of Wellington. And it's been incredibly slow to move, but in due time, Oxford, Rock, Strotherfield, of course, that would put it over closer to Winfield, and potentially even Ark City could be experiencing this thunderstorm as well as it drifts on to the east. There's definitely a lot of wind with the storm, and there's, as we just showed you, the chance that we could get some golf ball size hail. So we'll call this a damaging storm as it approaches western sections of Cowley County. Meanwhile, farther west, warning for southern Kingman, northern Harper County. The storm that's right here along K42 has had some weak rotation with it. I don't think there's an imminent tornado threat at the moment, but it's still very much in the running for producing some hail up to the size of quarters. And when we take a look at what the wind might be doing inside of the storm, now, we may be getting some winds of around 60 miles an hour with this particular one, but it is on a path that would eventually bring it up into parts of Sedgwick County. But if that's going to become the case and become reality, we're probably still about 20 to 30 minutes away from that being the case. But I want you to see the radar presentation from the last hour. Again, it's moving in about 25 to 30. So Cheney, Viola, Garden Plain, and extreme northwest Sumner County, the storm is coming your way right now. Quarter-size hail and some heavy rainfall. Heavy rain, that's what we find from Hutchinson back along Highway 50 and into the Arlington area. We're not picking up on any large hail there. East of Newton, Whitewater, Peabody, Burns up along Highway 50 in Marion and Chase counties. We've got some heavy rainfall. These are non-severe thunderstorms south of Ellsworth and south of Salina. But look how quickly they're developing and pushing on to the east. Now, this part of the state had heavy rain earlier today. More thunderstorms are flaring up there. And from northwest Kansas, now we're looking at storms that stretch from Tribune up toward the Colby area. Looks like a new severe thunderstorm warning was just issued for much of northwest Kansas, including Goodland, Atwood, and St. Francis, because storms coming from the high plains of eastern Colorado pose a danger of producing some high winds. So St. Francis and Goodland, heads up, you might experience some winds up to about 60 miles an hour. And not to be left out, storms around Norton down into northwest Graham County could have some hail with those. So there's a lot of stuff happening right now in Kansas as we continue on through the rest of the evening and perhaps up to about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Large hail, high winds, and flooding. Doesn't look like we're going to have a lot of tornadoes tonight, but that is a concern for the next couple of hours. At 8 o'clock tonight, storms around Wichita will be underway. More are going to flare up from Dodge City to Salina and start to push on to the east. But eventually, by 9:30 and 10 o'clock tonight, this is the main event. And this is where I think we're going to get wind speeds of around 60 to 80 miles an hour, perhaps stronger. We'll see how this plays out. But from Dodge City to Hutchinson on south and east at 9:30 tonight, things could be very, very active. Later on tonight, after midnight, the severe weather threat pushes out of the immediate area, and then we're looking at some calming conditions heading into Wednesday morning. Tomorrow's going to be a very different day, slightly cooler temperatures. Also looks like no threat of any severe weather. We're going to fall back into the 80s as we head through the middle of your week. As for rainfall, and this is a concern because we have a lot of saturated soils, between now and tomorrow morning, there's still a chance we could see another 1 to 3 inches of rain on top of what has already fallen today. So hang in there because we're not done with this stuff just yet. This is from our north side camera looking back to the southwest. You can see the storm coming in from Kingman County. The temperature in Wichita is 66. Our winds are out of the east. Good chance for storms tonight over most of the state. The higher threat of severe weather will be over southern Kansas. Lows will be 50s and 60s. The west tomorrow likely drying out. We'll see a return of 80s, 87 in Liberal, 83 in Smith Center. North winds will be about 10 to 15. Central Kansas, morning clouds, afternoon sunshine. The humidity is probably going to drop a little bit tomorrow, but it's still looking like 80, so probably a bit warmer than what we had today. Wichita, mid 80s, 84 in Hutch, 84 in El Dorado. Morning clouds, little bit brighter once we get into the afternoon. So good news for farmers. You've got some dry weather coming up. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all without storms, and the Kansas wind is going to pick up too. Then next week we have a stretch of dry weather coming up, but storms could return to the area toward the tail end of the week.